today. My name is Yenna and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I know a little bit of background information. It sounds like there's some tension between mother and daughter that we're going to try to address today. And I'm looking forward to exploring the reasons behind that, and hopefully we'll be able to ease some of that tension.
Yes, I hope so too.
But I'm glad that you're ready to start. First, I do need to inform you on a few things about the therapeutic relationship. We want to go over the confidentiality part of the therapy. So I only have 2 rules. The first one is that everyone is safe. The second one is everything is confidential. Sometimes those rules will butt heads with each other. If someone is not safe, someone surrounding you, someone that you mention, or yourselves, then we do have to break confidentiality. So rule 1 will always win. So just want to get that out of the way. Also, if a client is involved in a legal matter, a judge can order that I release information to the courts, and I'm obligated to submit that information related to the client's case. Does that make sense? Questions about that? Okay, great. I want to inform you of the kind of therapy that this agency uses. I primarily focus on REBT, which stands for Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy. And according to REBT, our attitudes, our beliefs, and our thoughts, the way we think about events, and the meanings we give to them directly affect how we feel and how we behave. This is a common sense type of therapy for most people, so it's very effective. It's very user-friendly than many of the other therapies that are out there. If at any time you'd like to ask questions about the therapy technique, please do so, and I'll be happy to explain what we're doing.
Okay.
For today's session, we'll have about an hour, and I may give you some homework at the end that we'll discuss at our next session. It may take several sessions for a client to feel that their problems have been resolved, so I would like you to keep in mind, keep open to that possible second, third session. Do you have any questions so far?
That's pretty clear.
Great. I also want you to be aware that occasionally I may feel the need to confer or speak with another professional, one of my colleagues, on this case. Do you feel comfortable with that? Okay, great. And just a few more orders of business. I was made aware that you have insurance to pay for the sessions, and so please stop by the receptionist on your way out for that co-payment. And then if you do need to cancel, if you could give us a 24-hour notice, that would be really appreciated. Also know that your insurance would also have access to pertinent information regarding our sessions, just like they would any medical records. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And then last, our agency likes to be open about acknowledging diversity. Our therapists are always striving for cultural competency and sensitivity, so I wanted to acknowledge that I am a different ethnicity from both of you. Therefore, if you feel like I'm missing something culturally or not understanding a perspective, mine or yours, if there's something that clashes there due to some cultural piece, please let me know, okay? Any concerns? No. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you for bearing with me while we got that out of the way. Now we can really get into why you're here. So can you begin to tell me what brings you in today?
So I feel like I'm out of touch with Amanda. She does live with me, but I don't know, excuse me, anything about what's going on in her life. She's either always gone or she stays in her room. And when we,
Oh, bless you.
sorry.
Tissue.
If we do talk, we just start fighting. I mean, I know nothing about what's going on.
Does that sound right to you, Amanda?
Basically.
I see. Can you describe your mother's relationship from your perspective?
Well, I mean, she's right. We don't really get along, and we haven't for for a long time now. I just feel like she's always ready to criticize me or comment in some aspect of my life, and I'm sick of it, and I don't need to be criticized at every chance that she gets. I feel like she's got a comment for just everything I do. It's like when I wake up, for like what time I get up, what I eat for breakfast, did I pack lunch, what I'm wearing, how late I stay up, and it just makes me so angry, like every little comment that she makes, and I would rather just ignore her than try to engage in some kind of conversation. When she's right, when we do, talk, then we end up fighting, and or she ends up telling me that I'm not living my life right, and I can't stand it.
I'm not criticizing you. I'm concerned. I feel like an epic failure as a mother as it is. I have no idea what's going on in your life. I feel I need to check on you to make sure that you're okay. I mean, you're living in my house. It'd be nice if you acknowledged my existence every now and then. It makes me sad that we don't have a good relationship. When you were a little girl, we did everything together. Then you hit high school and got kind of mixed up with not so great kids. Started sneaking out, drinking, skipping school, grades went down the tube. And since then, the relationship hasn't been good. I see other moms and they're really close with their daughters and they go out to lunch and I want that for us.
Yeah, you both have mentioned some very, very strong feelings and some good points there. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our therapy. We're going to discuss the ABCs, the things that are going on in your relationship. The A being the activating event, the situation that you may find disturbing. The B stands for the irrational belief, and by irrational I mean that these thoughts they're not flexible, they're false, and they're largely unconstructive. And then the C aspect of it is the unhealthy, negative.
Albert Ellis, the founder of REBT, suggests that most people are A to C people, thinking that events cause our feelings and actions. They are unaware of the B, the underlying beliefs that actually guide our feelings and behaviors.
It sounds like there's a lot of negative, a lot of emotions in the room, and it sounds like there's a lot of anger and sadness here, and we really want to get to the source of those emotions. So in order to do that, I'm going to start with Amanda here, and I'd like you to please close your eyes, and I'd like you to visualize a recent event that caused you to fight with your mother. I want you to close your eyes and think of a scale from 0 to 10 as you're thinking of that event. 0 being the angriest, 0 being the not angry at all, 10 being very angry. So think about that event, and when you get to the 10, as you're feeling this emotion, thinking about the event, tell me okay.
Okay.
Now I want you to I want you to think about the event, what just happened, and verbalize it to your mom. How would it sound at a 10?
I'm angry. I'm sick of it. I'm not a child. Why can't you just leave me alone?
Sure. Okay. Keep your eyes closed, and now I want you to reduce that anger back to where we started initially, which was to 0. And I want you to feel the anger as it leaves your body, and let me know when we get back to that 0.
Okay.
Okay, good. So you can go ahead and open your eyes now. What caused your anger to go all the way to 0 in the first place? Was it your thinking that got you there? Who caused that anger?
Well, I mean, I did, I guess. I got myself to all the way hyped up to 10.
And were you also able to get back to 0, or who caused you to get back to the 0?
I mean, I did. It was me.
This visualization technique can help clients realize that they are in control of their emotions. If a client responds that another person or event is responsible for getting them to that 10 or back down to a 0, this therapist should reinforce the concept that people or events don't cause us to feel a certain way. It is our thoughts and beliefs around those events.
Event evoked a response from you, but you were the one capable of controlling your thoughts and feelings that led you to that anger.
Yeah, I can see that.
So in REBT, there's what we like to call the cycle of irrational thinking. I have a little picture of it here that I'm going to show the both of you. It is a pretty vicious cycle. Let's see if I can get it to pull up here.
When a therapist explains the cycle of irrational thinking, it can help clients recognize thought patterns they might be stuck in.
So it starts with a low frustration tolerance, for example, saying you can't stand it, when your mother makes a comment to you, or thoughts like it's terrible or unfair, that leads to self-doubt and self-pity. And these thoughts can be, I deserve better, or I'm such a failure, or I'm worthless, etc. And then follows demeaningness. So life shouldn't be this hard. You should be different, or she should be different. And then the next part of the cycle, as you can see here, is an increased negativity, which circles back around to low frustration tolerance. Now, for some folks, it helps to visualize the cycle, as I'm showing it to you here as it applies to them. Can you see how maybe you guys may be stuck in this type of cycle?
I mean, yeah, I can with that low frustration tolerance. I do. I feel like I'm instantly at a 10. I'm like instantly so angry. You know, and my mom doesn't even have to say anything. It's like a glance can make me feel this way. Or if I just think that she's gonna comment or she's thinking about, you know, like she's gonna say something, I'm just like filled with this anger and that I don't know if I can control it. And I get that, and I just feel like every time that she makes a comment, it just goes back to that making me feel like I'm failing and that she doesn't believe that I could be a responsible adult, that I'm not capable, and I feel like it, swings me into this like self-doubt on my own. Like, does it even matter how hard I'm trying? Because am I really just not capable of like doing anything right as an adult? And you know, and I get where she's coming from, because I was kind of a screw up in high school, but I am like trying really hard to turn it around, and I have a job and I'm going to school and I'm doing really well in my classes, and it still isn't enough like for her to have faith in me that I can be responsible again. And I just feel like it leads to her constantly, you know, like picking at me to change, you know, to check in or change what I'm doing in my life, and I just feel really angry about it, and I probably need to work on that, but maybe, you know, she needs to work on not making me feel that way.
So is what I'm hearing that, is it that you feel like you're working hard to be responsible, a responsible adult, and in the eyes of your mom, she still treats you like a kid, just like she did when you were back in high school? Correct.
Yeah, basically.
So do you still think that someone can make you feel like a failure after talking about this? Even if your mom comments on your life, insinuating that you're failing, do you have to accept that as being true?
No.
Now, the foundation of this therapy is realizing that it's not an event or an action that determines our emotions, rather our perception or our attitudes towards that action. And I believe, actually, this reminds me of a quote that I really like. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." Now, Chris, you said that not having a close relationship with your daughter makes you feel like a bad mother. Can you see maybe some possible irrational thinking behind that?
So my daughter ignoring me is, I know, ignoring me or getting so angry at me is my activating event. And I know that I have a very high level of anger and sadness over it, a combination of both. And I'm pretty sure the irrational belief I'm having is that for me to be considered a good mother, me and Amanda have to have a really close relationship. And, you know, I don't know where to go from there.
So it's possible that irrational belief that you're a bad mother is causing your anger and sadness, not necessarily the fact that you're fighting with each other.
I can see that. I think that because Amanda and I have such a hard time connecting on an emotional level, I think I overcompensate by being a good mother. You know, by always checking on her, kind of hovering, maybe being a little naggy. I think I just am trying to help her through life. And I'm sorry, but you know, right now it's all I've got. It's the only way I know how to mother you right now, because I'm not hearing anything else to drive anything else for me. And you know, I do have faith in you, and I'm very proud of you. And you have matured into a really, 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 really good young adult. I guess I feel like if I stop checking on you and making sure everything's going how it should for you, then I won't have any connection with you anymore. I mean, that will be it. You just won't speak to me. There won't be anything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry too, and I don't mean to be so angry all the time. I do deep down know that you are just asking me these things, and you know you're looking out for me because you care, and you know I think we probably just need to redefine what our mother-daughter relationship should look like, and not really what you feel it has to be, or I feel it has to be, or what society feels like it has to be. We should probably try and redefine that.
Yeah, those are some very, very good points. I think this is a very good place to stop. Our hour's almost up. But before you go, I'd like to give you a little bit of homework assignment. Would you like to come back for another session, Lynn? Okay. Well, let me talk to you about this homework assignment we have here. It's a template that walks you through that ABC that I first talked about, but it also goes further. It's A, B, C, D, E of our rational emotive behavior therapy. So I want you to go home and become aware of the activating events that are causing your relationship. And then after that, it talks about the irrational beliefs that are surrounding the event, and you'll see that there. There's some examples as well to clarify things a little more if you need that. Then you will go on to the consequences of those beliefs. I'd like you to also to do D, and on your worksheet it'll be blank. When you get to the D part, you dispute those assumptions and beliefs that you're seeking for evidence of any rationale behind them. And then lastly, on E, you want to think about an effective way of thinking. So here's an example, a copy for each of you, and then I will also give you a blank one as well. And next week we'll discuss the ABCDEs and do a few other techniques, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
About our 2 rules, everyone is safe, everything is confidential, and when these 2 butt heads are at odds with each other, remember one wins.
Again.
Hi.
All right, did you complete your assignment?
Yeah, we did.
All right, let's have a look. Amanda, would you like to go first?
Okay. I kind of followed the template that you gave us and talked about that activating event, and for me it's a comment about my lifestyle or my responsibilities for my mother, and if you go over to the consequences of that, it's that anger and I don't know, that frustration and self-doubt, I guess. So then I went back and tried to really, analyze the irrational beliefs I have, and that I say that I can't control my anger. I say I can't stand it when she comments. She doesn't think I'm capable, and it doesn't matter what I do to show her. I had to sit down and dispute those beliefs, and like the example said, it was, I may not like it, but I can stand it, and I can control my reaction. And I went back with those, looking for evidence of where's the evidence of that my mom's comments mean that she doesn't, think that I'm responsible. And then my new effective thinking is I don't like it when she comments or nags me about my behavior, but that doesn't mean that she thinks I'm a screw up, and it doesn't mean that she's a bad person, or I'm a bad person, or she's a bad mom.
Great, thank you for sharing. Chris?
So in mine, my activating event was Amanda ignoring me and just going into her room. And so that, I felt hurt, angry, guilty, a little depressed, that she's not acknowledging me. And so I know that what my thinking was she should acknowledge me, and she must hate me, and I must be a failure. So to dispute those irrational thoughts, I disputed them with where's the evidence that she hates me, and where's the evidence that I'm a failure, and where is the evidence that she should acknowledge me all the time. And so I started trying to think about, I want her to acknowledge me. I wish she would open up to me. I am fallible, but not a failure. And then, so some of the new emotions that I felt could replace unhealthy ones were concern and disappointment. about what I was, the new effective thinking, and my new constructive behaviors would be allowing Amanda her space.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you both did a really good job at identifying those irrational beliefs. Your new emotional effect or thinking was great. And did you notice a change in your behaviors this week because of that?
I think I noticed it. I felt like that frustration tolerance that you were talking about isn't quite as low, and overall, I think I'm better able when my mom makes a comment to let it go and not read into it so much or over generalize or over personalize it than I did before.
I noticed that I'm making fewer comments. That effective thinking is remembering I don't need to have her. I need to allow her to have her space and allow her to do her things her way. And I don't have to be, we don't have to be the best friend, mother, daughter for me to be a good mom.
Really good. I'm really happy to hear so much insight and growth from the both of you. Were there any struggles this week that you would like to tell about?
So we did have one big fight.
Tell me about it.
So I was getting ready for work, and Amanda normally leaves 30 minutes before I do for work. So I think it was just a little bit before I was going to leave, and Amanda had not come up yet. So I was a little concerned. So I was like, you know, I worry. I don't want her to be late, but she does like sleeping. So she's known to sleep in a little bit and oversleep sometimes. And so I went downstairs and knocked on her door, and she was sleeping, but she woke up and was really angry because I woke her up. And what I found out was her class had been canceled that morning, so I didn't know. So I was just trying to help her, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, it sounds like we could benefit from another exercise. You've both done good work. Sometimes challenging situations will arise, and you know that's life. So, I'd like to have I'd like for you to have a technique in the back of your pocket that you can use when your irrational behaviors are really hard to shake. Last thing I want you to try to do. This last thing we're going to try is called an invitation technique. Here's an example that I'm going to have you do on your own. So. Amanda, would you like to share your invitation with us?
Yeah, so my invitation states as if she was sending me an invitation of, I, your mother, consider you to be an irresponsible screw-up who needs constant monitoring, and I invite you to consider yourself an irresponsible screw-up too. And then please RSVP, and my response is accept or decline, and I'm going to decline that invitation to feel that way about myself. And I decline because it says I can accept myself as a hardworking young adult doing the best I can, even if you can't accept me that way.
So the invitation I wrote, that I think Amanda would write to me is, I, your daughter, invite you to consider yourself a terrible mother because we never hang out like friends. So I would thank her for the invitation for me to consider this, for considering myself a bad mother. However, I'm going to decline because I can accept myself as a fallible person or human being, but I am a good mother whether we hang out like friends or not.
That's great. That is very good work. And this type of technique, you know, you can use at home anytime you feel like you need to communicate something challenging with each other. And I want to talk about something called unconditional self-acceptance, which means you rate the behavior, not yourself. So failing at a task can't make you a failure. As individuals, we strive to achieve and to enhance our enjoyment and existence, but they don't prove our worth. And unconditional other acceptance, rate what others do, not yourself. How do you think that you could apply something like that in your daily life as far as accepting yourself?
Because she's not always speaking to me or always home, or it doesn't make me bad. We don't have to be super close for me to be a good mother to her and love her.
I think it probably goes back to just accepting myself, that I am being responsible, and I see that in myself, and that might be something that's hard for me, but even if I do make a mistake and oversleep, then that's on me, and I can accept myself despite those actions, and I can still accept myself even though I am struggling with my anger right now, but I still want to work on that, and I think I can accept my mom, even though she hovers sometimes and she's monitoring everything I'm doing. I can accept her as a really good mom despite that behavior that I don't like.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I really like how you both applied the techniques that we've learned. You've been willing to give it all you can, and it shows how much you care about this relationship and how you want to make it work. Would you like to continue with some of the techniques and do more sessions, or how do you feel about how things are going so far?
I think we're improving.
I think we're doing pretty good too, because one fight in a 1 week period of time, it's actually really good. So I think actually the techniques are working. We're using them. So maybe we can try them on our own for a while.
Great. So you're going to go and use these techniques that we've covered to get to those goals that you had coming in, which is communicating better and understanding that our beliefs, rational or irrational, they do affect our emotions and how we behave. You'll do that by using some of the different approaches that we've covered in this session. We talked about the ABCs in the beginning, the visualizing, the invitation that we did today. So those are some techniques that you can refer to when you're out and about. You want to be sure to focus on moving from your anger and your sadness, dispute those feelings like we've been doing here, and move on with your new effective way of thinking so that your relationship can function at a higher, healthier level. You're both here, which tells me that you care, but you've decided to discontinue our sessions. But please know that I'm here for you if you need any support moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
All right.
Thank you for everything you've done.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.